Especially delighted that one of the foundations for Every Kid in a Park is the ability for individual agencies to claim a month and use that month as a way to demonstrate how they can be a special opportunity, a special initiative to involve fourth graders in the great outdoors. And with us today to talk about that idea and more is John Armour, who is the acting director for the Office of National Marine Sanctuaries within NOAA. And we are now in NOAA's Every Kid in a Park month. So John, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Derek. I really appreciate it. I'm honored and really super excited to be here. As the NOAA representative to meetings like this, I typically have a couple of jobs. Number one, I'm here to remind everybody that our opportunities for recreation and tourism don't stop at our nation's coast. Actually, there are so many opportunities to get out there and enjoy nature and enjoy the environment out in our offshore, our coastal, estuarine, and our Great Lakes waters. Whether you're looking at and enjoying historic shipwrecks in the Great Lakes, or you're fishing, or you're kayaking, or you're sailing, there's just so much to enjoy and about the marine environment. So that's my job number one. Job number two is often to remind people that NOAA does not control the weather. And typically that comes in the form of, when the weather is less than optimal for events like this. But today I kind of feel like I should remind you, not only do we not control the weather, we also don't control time. So as a group here, we're going to do our best to cover a lot of ground in a short amount of time. The President's Every Kid in a Park initiative really is, I should say, a fantastic opportunity to really expand the dialogue and expand exposure to not just kids, but families to the outdoors. So we have a big job to do. The five of us up here, we got to cram about probably 5 days worth of really great information into 30 minutes. But before we do, I want to actually recognize Kiara Zuccarina Crow here in the front. Kiara's on my team, and she's done a fantastic job actually setting up this panel. And she's also NOAA's representative to the Federal Recreation Council, formerly FICOR. So she really keeps NOAA engaged in the recreation conversation and tourism conversation. So I do want to thank you, Kiara, for all that. So as Derek said, June is NOAA's month, NOAA's focus month for Every Kid in a Park. We have a lot of stuff going on, starting actually just next week with Capitol Hill Ocean Week right here in D.C. I hope lots of you can stay and stick around and maybe participate in some of those activities. And then at the end of the month, we have our Get Into Your Sanctuary Days, where we really focus attention and try to get market and get as many people into our national marine sanctuaries to enjoy the opportunities that the Great Lakes and the marine environment have to offer. So with that, I'd like to introduce our fantastic panel here to my left. And so from your left to your right, we have Clarence Fluker. Clarence is the Deputy Associate Director for National Parks and Youth Engagement for the White House's Council on Environmental Quality. And in that capacity, Derek works to raise the visibility of the National Park Service Centennial and helps to connect a younger and more diverse audience to America's public lands and waters. So thank you, Derek, for being here, taking time. And then next we have Jackie Alsfeld. Jackie is the director of the Sierra Club's Nearby Nature Initiative, and she's also the chair of the steering committee for the Outdoor Alliance for Kids, or OAK. OAK is a strategic partnership advocating for equitable and readily available opportunities for children and youth and families to connect with the outdoors. So thank you, Jackie. And then next we have Jessica Wall. Jessica is the Recreation Policy Advisor for the Outdoor Industries Association. She focuses on securing increased funding and access and infrastructure for outdoor recreation and promoting the outdoor industry right here in our nation's capital. So thank you very much, Jessica. And then finally, we have Jen Brown. Jen is the Executive Director of Civic Nation. as Civic Nation is an organization that builds and implements campaigns that turns ideas into action. And right now she's focused on engaging the public and taking the Every Kid in the Park pledge. So thank you, Jen, for joining us. So the way we're going to do this is I have just a few questions, for one question for each of the panelists, and if we have time, we have a couple of other questions after that. But I've asked the panelists, I'm going to ask them a couple questions just to kind of reflect on their experiences with Every Kid in the Park and the partnership opportunities that it presents for probably everybody in this room. So the first question is for Clarence. Clarence, can you just take a moment to just open this discussion and talk briefly about the creation and the evolution of the Every Kid in the Park initiative?
I will literally take one moment. I'll say thank you for having me on this panel, and thank you for all the folks in the room. I know you've been sitting down for a long time, so shake it out a little bit if you need to. Shake it up. Right? Shake it off. The President's Every Kid in the Park initiative was officially launched in September of last year, and we're extremely excited about it. It is a signature piece of the President's mission to help get young people outdoors. As you all know, the National Park Service centennial goal is to create the next generation of park visitors, supporters, and advocates, and there's probably no better way to do that than through the President's initiative. We are committed through this administration to make sure that this program lives on beyond us, and just imagine how wonderful it would be if 12 years from now we can say that every fourth grader for the last 12 years has had the opportunity to visit one of America's public lands or waters. That will give us an entire generation of young people who had an initial meaningful connection with the great outdoors, and we believe that that will help us achieve that huge mission of creating the next generation of people who care about recreation and conservation of our outdoor birthright here in the United States. So I am actually here today to be more of a cheerleader than a player because so much of the great work around the Every Kid in the Park initiative is not just coming from the agencies, but it's really coming from our external partners who are here on the panel today. So I'm here to root them on so that they can hopefully continue to carry the ball forward.
Awesome. Thanks, Clarence. I couldn't agree with you more. When I first heard about Every Kid in the Park, I was really excited because I had a fourth grader. And I was really, really excited to get into Yellowstone and do all the other cool things. But then I realized that we were in planning, and he turned into fifth grade. And so, I do have a first grader though as well. So hopefully, I agree with you. I hope this continues over time. So that is a great idea. I was actually, as I was helping him with his homework. I was like, oh, maybe if he stayed back a year, I could get it. But no. I'm not that cheap. Okay, Jackie. Next question. Oaks members have been at the nexus of many of the partnerships that have supported this initiative over the last year. Can you share some highlights as well as maybe some lessons you've learned so far about building the Every Kid in the Park initiative?
Sure, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And I realize that me and this panel are the one thing standing between you and your networking break, so I will also maybe not be as brief as Clarence, but I'll try to be brief. But I'd like to just start with a little bit of background on Oak for those who aren't familiar. I'm Jackie Osfeld. I run Sierra Club's Nearby Nature Initiative to connect people with places close to home. And nationally, about 6 years ago, a group of us maybe 5 or 6 of us were in a room realizing that we needed to do more at the national level to connect kids with the outdoors. We had some early success. We called on the First Lady to establish the Let's Move Outside, and we realized that there was a needed voice for broadly connecting kids with the outdoors at the national level, and we established the Outdoors Alliance for Kids. Many of our founding partners, members today are in the room. I see a lot of familiar faces, so thank you all for being here. But we have grown in just 6 years from 5 groups in a room to over 85 organizations, businesses, nonprofit organizations, all working together to be advocates for getting kids outdoors. And so this Every Kid in a Park initiative is dear to all of our hearts. We're thrilled to see it coming from the president at such a high level. It is very important. To me personally, my parents did not take me outdoors as a kid. Shocker in this room. I was one of those kids who had my first outdoor experiences through school, through out-of-school programs. It was not because my parents loved nature. They went camping one time, it rained, their tent leaked, they were miserable, and they still talk about it. I've never gone with my family camping in my whole life. I will not be that kind of parent to my kids, but to me, it's really important that there are programs that we're not just relying on parents to get their kids outdoors, or we won't be reaching everybody. So I'm just really happy to see this program exist. So one thing before I jump into the Every Kid, I'll just say that we have been honored and privileged to be deepening our partnerships with many of the federal agencies that are managing our land, water, and shores over the last couple of years. We're finalizing some partnerships with the Federal Recreation Council agencies, a few with the Department of Interior agencies like Fish and Wildlife, National Park Service, Bureau of Land Management, and Bureau of Reclamation. We have a partnership with the Forest Service, and we're in the process of finalizing a partnership with NOAA to work together for 5 years to get kids outdoors. And there's many facets to this program. The fourth grade part is hugely important, but it's not the only way that we're touching kids. And so we're working, you'll hear later from our friends at the Y, to support Secretary Jewell's Play, Learn, Serve initiative. We're working to support the 21st Century Conservation Service Corps. But the Every Kid in a Park program has been really catalyzing for our members. I'll just say that, in the 8 or 10 or so years of working in Washington to get kids outdoors, we've never seen a president come up and say, we need to do this, let's get every kid in a park. And so it really has been, I would almost say, a movement moment for this group. Our members are committed to making sure it's a success. We're also committed to making sure that it lives beyond this administration, and so we have sort of a twofold strategy there. We've been working with our members, encouraging our members to host visibility events to get every kid in a park. We helped launch the events in DC, in New York City, and Hawaii last year, and already our members have done 25 events just this year alone, reaching about 5,000 fourth graders with Every Kid in a Park passes across the country. Our members are stepping up. They're retooling, reshaping, expanding their own programming to help make this initiative a success, and I just want to recognize all of them for that. But we're also doing, and you'll hear from Jess in a minute, some of our members are supporting the initiative through funding, and all of our members, almost, I would say, are supporting it through raising awareness. We'll be, at the end of the year, not the end of the year, as we launch the new school year at the end of the summer, we'll be doing a national call to action where we'll call on all of our Oak members to get their field affiliates, their boots on the ground, more engaged in this initiative, and we invite all of you to join us in that effort. We'll also be doing some social media, trying to get younger people engaged. We'll do a big Twitter party at the end of the summer to support the initiative. And so just to quickly answer your question, the success of the program to us has really been this catalyzing event. I think for my own organization, Sierra Club, we've been leading outings since 1901. We've been leading kids in the outdoors, particularly from low-income communities, for the last 35 years, and we get about 15,000 out every year through repeat experiences. This program has got our outings leaders excited. They're reaching out to fourth grade classrooms and to other partners to see how they can get involved. Just one example is, for the last 10 years, Sierra Club has worked to protect the San Gabriel Mountains right outside of Los Angeles, which, thank you, President Obama, is now a national monument. Our organizers on the ground have been working with the fourth graders in that area, in that community in the San Gabriel Valley, to get them up into this newly protected area. So it's just been such a wonderful program for all of us, and we're thankful to be part of it, thankful to do everything that we can to help make it a success.
Excellent, thanks, Jackie. And on behalf of NOAA, I want to apologize for that rain that you had in your childhood camping experience. So sorry about that. It won't happen.
I wasn't alive yet. That was just my parents.
That was your parents.
Maybe why I still enjoy camping today.
On behalf of NOAA, I apologize.
There's great gear for when it rains out.
Yeah, right.
Just saying. There's no such thing as bad weather. It's just bad gear.
Yeah. Well, Jessica, yes. Two-part question for you. First, can you tell us about the Parks for Kids crowdfunding campaign and how that has supported the Every Kid initiative? And then number two, do you envision that this type of approach could actually help sustain the initiative moving forward?
Sure, thanks. So again, I'm the Government Affairs Manager for Outdoor Industry Association. We represent supplier, manufacturer, retailer, and also guides and outfitters in the outdoor space. So the whole supply chain of the goods that you wear when it's raining out or when it's beautiful out for camping and biking and hiking and skiing. And Parks for Kids is really our answer to the Every Kid in a Park call. We also are part of Oak and have been working on this issue, which is really a bottom line issue for our industry for quite some time. And so when we heard about Every Kid in a Park, we were very eager to jump on board and have this be one of our pillar initiatives for our Outdoor Foundation this year and hopefully for many years to come. So as many of you know, and as I heard firsthand when I was actually working at the Department of the Interior and running the youth listening sessions for America's Great Outdoors, transportation is a barrier for getting youth outside. And while the passes are great and now the parks are free, transportation, food, and the programming is often not free. And so Parks for Kids is a crowdfunding site that allows schools and nonprofits to upload projects that they want to see funded. And then our companies are coming online and dedicating their funding to projects and programs that they think are aligned with their goals as a company and also just might be work that they want to see done in their own community where they're headquartered. So for just $10, as you've probably heard, you can get a kid to a park. So for $100, you can maybe get a classroom. For $1,000, a school, and so on. And our companies have really taken that to heart. One of our most recent announcements was the REI sponsoring the entire city of DC fourth graders to get kids to parks. So we had an announcement with the mayor. Yeah, very good. And the mayor was really excited. The kids at a school in Anacostia were really excited. And we're hopeful that that will catalyze other cities around the country to do the same thing. So San Diego Foundation and our companies in San Diego are already on board. North Face has also committed their Explore Fund grants to this program for the next year. And at Outdoor Retailer Summer Market, which is our huge show this year in August, if you haven't been, you should probably get on it. We will be handing out badges, Every Kid in a Park badges. And so for an extra $15, you can get a special badge, and all of that money will go to the parks. We have about 30,000 people that attend this show, mostly executives. So some companies have already committed to getting all of their staff the special badge. So just different ways that we can fundraise and people feel really connected to these programs. We're also going to have a place on site at the show where they can take that $15 that they use for their badge and commit it to a certain project or program. So it's very personal to the folks that are working on this. Since we launched in January, I think that was only 4 months ago we launched, the program has been a huge success. Many projects have been funded on the ground, and right now we're in phase 2, which is really regional challenges. So getting companies in different regions across the country to compete to see which region can get the most fourth graders outside. So I think right now California, who gets their own region, is in the lead, but the Northeast is really stepping up, and it's fun to see companies actually come together around something who might often be competitive, but in this case, there is a real need to get more kids outside, and they see that as a way to work together on these things. One of the other things that's evolved that might be interesting to this group is the tools. So originally you could just search by location, so zip code, see what projects and programs were around, maybe your retail store or manufacturing site, and then you could fund those. And now you can search by activity. So we have a lot of fly fishing rod makers that might want to promote Fish and Wildlife Service or an activity at a NOAA site. And then we have some paddling companies that manufacture kayaks that really want the kids out paddling. They don't care where they are, they just want to make sure these kids are paddling. So that's been a huge success. We hope and invite you all to upload more programs and projects that are specific to activities. And I think some of the next steps we're thinking about are non-endemic relationships, non-endemic organizations really helping us fund every kid this year. So we made an announcement with the First Ladies team 2 weeks ago with the Partnership for Healthier America, which is her nonprofit that works on Let's Move and fighting childhood obesity. We were one of the only, I think the only outdoor announcements at the session between the North Face, OIA, REI, announcing to get over 100,000 youth, fourth graders, to parks this centennial year to celebrate. And it was amazing the response we got from Mars and Nestle and food and beverage companies about how great this is. So we hope to move forward working with those companies to see the value in this. And then of course, continue to work with the industry who wants to see youth engage, having these great experiences, and also wants to see our industry continue to grow. So I guess the main thing is the grassroots feel to something like a crowdfunding site allows the companies and the nonprofit or the school to have their own relationship that we don't have to be the middleman for. So we do hope that will provide a partnership that will move past just this administration and will help carry on this program, because those companies are getting feedback from the schools. They're getting the trip report. They're getting the pictures, and so it'll be very hard for them to say no to funding that next fourth grade class if their kids go to that school or kids in their community go to that school. So we find real value in those local grassroots connections, and then of course telling the stories that the kids have in the park. There's been awesome videos. Park Foundation actually has a great video of one of their trips too, so we're hoping to replicate that and ensure that these communities kind of sponsor these kids for years forward, making sure all fourth graders get to a park.
Awesome. All right.
I think I answered the
Yeah,
question.
thanks, Jessica. Speaking of the sort of the durability and the power of partnerships, my last question for Jen. So how do you anticipate Civic Nation using partnerships and the Every Kid in the Park Pledge to prepare this initiative as we go into year 2?
Thank you. We're definitely the new kids on the panel, and I'm really excited to be here and talk a little bit about what we're doing. Civic Nation itself is an organization that runs large-scale branded campaigns. So a few months ago, if you saw the First Lady rapping about going to college, that was our video. Next week, you're going to see one with Oprah and Tina Fey and a whole bunch of other celebrities about women's empowerment. Those are our videos. And so when we first started talking with DOI and CEQ about this project, we were really, really excited to be brought on to figure out, how do you bring celebrities into this? How do you use the fact that young people really look up to the president and the first lady? And how do we build something where we all sort of come together and are able to promote this program in a big way? So our goal is to get the word out there about Every Kid in a Park. The first thing that we did was launch a website called everykidinapark.org. That allows us to collect a little bit of different information than the government. There's restrictions on the government site for exactly what can happen. Everykidinapark.org allows us to build a website that's fast changing, that can put up new information quickly, and that can collect a different set of information. And so we launched it in English and in Spanish. And we did it, for those of you who are Instagram people, we launched it on Thursday. And so we launched it as a Throwback Thursday. And it started with the First Lady and Secretary Jewel posting throwback pictures to themselves in national parks. Nonprofits like the Girl Scouts, companies like Amtrak, celebrities like Jack Johnson all started posting their own Throwback Thursday pictures of them in national parks as kids. And so we were able to get a huge amount of traction online. That specific piece was mostly targeted at parents around, hey, this is something that you should know about. You should come to the website, you should take the pledge, and you can get more information. So it was particularly fun for our family because when my little sister was in 4th grade, we went to Glacier National Park, and the ranger recommended a hike that was a little more difficult than, we maybe looked like we were in better shape than we were. And she sat down on the trail and wouldn't move for like 2 hours, and no one knew what to do. We couldn't get her going, so it was a great opportunity to make fun of her, which I appreciated. But for us specifically, the pledge does a couple things. So the biggest thing is that when somebody takes the pledge, they give us their zip code, and so we know where they live. And they also tell us whether they're an educator, whether they're a parent, whether they're a student, the type of information that they want to have. But the thing that we're most excited about is that it allows us to work with Parks for Kids and with the National Park Foundation grants and with other people who are helping locally to prepare trips, to then push people who have signed up on our website to those trips. So if someone is planning a trip in a city and they want 4th graders in that city to know about it, not only can we use the social media presence we have, but we can also use the email list to say, hey, if you live in this radius, you should sign up for this event. And so it allows us great partnerships with everyone who is doing events locally to make sure that 4th graders in their area know that the events are happening. The other thing that we can do with it is people can tell us more about what they're interested in and if they're interested particularly in volunteering. So as people are planning more trips and they're looking for helpers at the parks to actually make sure it's successful, they're looking for additional sponsorships, whatever it is, we can push that out to people who have signed up and say, here are some different opportunities for not only for you to take your kids to the park, but also for you to make a bigger difference in this campaign. So when we launched, there were 28 partners that really range from the National Park Foundation to the Sierra Club, to everyone, but also Amtrak and the North Face and a lot of companies. And a lot of nonprofits. One of the things that we think is really important as a part of Every Kid in a Park is getting Title I schools to participate in getting their students and organizations that work with them. So the Hispanic Access Foundation, a group called Outdoor Afro, are all partnering with us to make sure that we're getting all fourth graders to national parks.
Oh, that's fantastic. No, and I'm sure Derek's glad to give a stage for poking fun at our siblings. So that's always nice to do. So how are we doing on time? Are we about 2 minutes? Then we have break. Okay, so maybe a bonus question for the panel. So we'll start with Jen and we'll work our way towards Clarence here. In one sentence, can you tell us the single most important way for organizations here to support or partner with your organization on youth engagement moving forward?
I would say help us promote everykidinapark.org, and let's talk about other ways that we can work together to get it out there.
Okay, good.
Buy more Osprey packs. Buy more Osprey packs, or you buy more gear, get outside more, but also please go to Parks for Kids and pick a project, challenge your colleagues to help you fund a classroom, and work from there. One classroom means 24 kids get a first-time park experience.
Great. Thanks.
Since we're all sharing websites, so I'll share www.outdoors.allianceforkids.org. If you are a nonprofit, if you are a business, we welcome you to join the coalition to get more involved with us on Every Kid and other ways that we're reaching young people in the outdoors. If you're a government agency, hopefully we're already partnering with you. If not, let's talk.
Great. Clarence.
Go forward doing the work that you're doing, constantly remembering what it was that made you first start doing the work.
Excellent. Well, how about a round for our panel here?